Live Live Podcast with your host, Jose Arqueta.
And we're back with
Live
another episode. I'm
podcast.
actually excited to be back, guys. I mean, it was a week before I had Chris Kane as a guest, and I was like, I couldn't wait to get back. I already had a guest lined up, but I was just too excited, and I'm glad that I'm here. Actually, it's been a long day for me today. I had an opportunity to be a guest of honor / MC of an event, a good friend of mine that he did for his agents, an agency that we both represent. He had like over 20 agents, and it was a privilege for me to be the MC, be the host, get all the agents motivated, hyped, introduce other speakers. And I also got opportunity to share my story, right? My journey and why I got into what I do. But that's the whole point of my podcast. Always sharing stories, bringing people here to share their stories so you guys can get motivated and say, you know what, I could do it. If you have something that you put back in the put on hold because of whatever, and you hear the story, then you're gonna get motivated to say, you know what, I'm gonna pick up from where I left off and move forward. So that's the whole goal of my podcast, guys. So moving forward, this episode is brought to you by Beauty Bar Aesthetics. I'm sorry if I said it wrong, but I'm actually happy because this is our second sponsor of the podcast. And hey, beautiful people out there, if you want to glow and look beautiful, Revive Beauty Bar is the place to go. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
Nice. It's not just about looking fabulous for all the ladies, but also for the men. They offer a lot of skincare treatments for you to look younger. I need to go because I have some wrinkles here, some arrugas here. And for you girls that want to get Botox, you want to look like the Kardashians, con los labios all fluffy, you can do that. Or if you want to be like Oscar de la Hoya, that he got the micro needle thingy, and he supposedly in a week later he's going to look younger, I got to try that. But my favorite one is that the fact that there's a place where you could go get an IV. So for all you guys out there that like to get, drunk, and the next day you're crudo, before you go eat some mariscos, go get your IV. And for those that just need some vitamins and they want to, go to the next level during the week, get some vitamin B12s or a vitamin cocktail that she offers to as well. Let Angelica know that Live Life Podcast send you. Check out the QR code right here. Click on it. It's going to send you directly to her page. And yeah, so with that being said, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So I have a beautiful guest right in front of me.
Oh, thank
and
you.
I always like to start my podcast, my episode with a proper introduction, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that we met on was it a year ago?
Yes, it was a year ago.
Yeah, we met a year ago, and I'm currently producing my wife's podcast. But now we have a team. If it wasn't for Juan and Luis from LC Productions and Juan Avila Photography, now we have a studio. So now we're back on the grind, better for the girls. And so I had the privilege to meet you, and I felt like that episode that you did with the girls was so amazing. But I wanted to ask you more. And as a producer, behind the scenes, I couldn't step over the girls' boundaries. No quise,
Interfere.
no quise interfere. I know I asked you like 2 questions,
Yes, you
pero
did.
mira Gaby que miró la mirada así like, shut up, you know what I mean? So I was like, mejor me quedé calladita. I stayed quiet because, I didn't want to mess with my wife. So
Good job.
I know, but, I was like, you know what? I started this well, not project, but something that I love to do. And I was like, you know what? I got to have her in there because yo me quedé impactado with your story. I was impacted by your story, and I want to ask you a lot of questions,
Sure, go ahead.
So before I do, I'm going to go ahead and start with the proper introduction. So today, I have the pleasure of having Natali Silva, a dedicated physician with passion for helping others and inspiring minorities to pursue careers in the medical field. Born to an immigrant parents from Oaxaca, Mexico, and raised in Salinas, California, Natali's journey has been shaped by resilience, cultural challenges, and a deep commitment to her community. She credits her family, friends, and mentors for guiding her through the challenges of higher education and medical school. Her personal experience includes witnessing loved ones battle cancer that play a significant role in shaping her path in being a doctor. Without any further ado, welcome, Natali.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome. But before we start, I have a gift for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a thank you gift.
Oh, thank you.
There's some beef jerky here from Maria from Beef Jerky, Host Jerky. Another sponsor of us. I love her jerky, guys.
you.
Guys, if you're looking for a jerky, Maria got you. Her flavors are phenomenal. The guys here in the studio they love them. My favorite one is a barbecue one, but this one is really good too as well.
Awesome.
So
I'm excited to try it.
yeah, here
I'm
enjoy
gonna
it.
leave it here so we can.
yeah.
sponsoring.
Enjoy in between breaks.
Yes, enjoy with breaks.
Okay, so moving forward, Natali, obviously, you are a doctor, and I'm curious to know how was your journey to that? What was the challenges you faced getting there? But first, I want to get to know a little bit more about you. So you were born here in Salinas, California. What area in Salinas you were raised?
Well, my parents moved around because they were immigrants. So obviously they worked in the fields, but they were like East Alisal. They went to like the end of Costa Plaza, and then we moved closer to like La Paz area, like Baronda. So we just moved all around, honestly, wherever it was affordable.
Yeah. Where at Acosta Plaza? Because I grew up in Acosta Plaza.
Oh, did you?
Yo vivía en 917 Acosta Plaza, apartment 1.
Oh my God, you remember the number? I can't remember the number, but it was right beneath Jesse G. Sanchez.
So
Before it was Jesse G. Sanchez.
So it was going down or at the beginning?
No, it's going down. Yeah.
Okay, so you were like,
In the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a bad area at that time, like
It was.
1995. It was a lot of gangsters in the area, a lot of shootings. So yeah, I mean, it's like anyone who grew up here, with parents or immigrant, day by day, paycheck by paycheck. Right. Growing up, like not knowing what you're gonna end up doing, but towards like I mentioned, a lot of mentors during the whole process, like middle school, high school, and even like life experiences, kind of led me to a career path. But before, it was almost like just finishing high school was like the big goal.
Right.
And for a woman, it's like not getting pregnant. That was like the goal, because your parents didn't want you to have a child.
Especially in our culture, we see that a lot, where a lot of young women get pregnant early.
Exactly.
Or even right after high school.
Yep.
But growing up in Acosta Plaza, so I'm assuming you went to Jesse Sanchez, right?
Yes, I did.
Because when I went, it was Sanborn Elementary.
Oh.
And then, I guess I'm older than you now. But it was Sanborn Elementary, and then it got changed to Jesse Sanchez. Yeah.
I know, they keep changing the names.
I know. And then they opened Martin Luther King next to it. So I was like,
did.
what? That used to be La Pulga,
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember
You were
La
La
Pulga.
Pulga?
Yeah.
Did you ever, what was one of your favorite memories growing up right there at Jesse Sanchez?
Jesse Sanchez, I feel like when you're a kid, you see life in another world. Like, we didn't have a lot of social media. We used to play in the playground, and that was like the highlight.
Yes.
So it was like really happy memories. I remember my parents did talk about money and struggling, but I didn't really get to experience that. I felt like I was really a happy child with my friends, and it's just playing like outside with nature. I used to play marbles.
Me too. It's crazy that you mentioned that growing up, you never think about the struggle that our parents went through, because one, they never told us.
No.
Well, at least for me, I could say that they never told us, but I know nowadays I've been to stores where like parents will be like, oh, no tengo dinero. No me alcanza para los dulces, or I can't. The other day, one of my buddies was telling me that he was at Target, and the little kid wanted a Transformer toy. And the mom was like, no me alcanza, mijo, no me alcanza. So my buddy bought it for the kid.
Oh,
and I was like, so it's like, never remember my parents being like that or talking about it like you mentioned. But I always remember there was always hustling, working. And that's the unique thing, as growing up as a kid, you have a beautiful childhood. You mentioned you were playing marbles. You jugaba canicas también,
Yeah, that was like everybody fighting for canicas. And
the spider ones, or the bumblebee ones.
Yeah.
Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I only have one sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is she older than you, or you?
She's older by 1 year. But I feel like we're around the same age. Like 1 year is not a big difference.
Yeah, that's nothing. Yeah. So growing up at Jesse Sanchez, going to school actually at Jesse Sanchez, do you have a favorite teacher teacher or anything that you had in there?
Yes,
Who was
I
it?
feel like that was one of the most challenging parts. I think her name was Dr. Estrada. She was like super strict. I remember getting home with like, the big old backpacks, like 10 books. And it was like,
Yes.
5 assignments per day. And I would be like, I hate her. I hate her. Like, why do I have to do this homework? And, my uncle was one of the persons who actually helped me during that time because I would literally cry. And I would be like, I want to go outside and play. And he's like, no, you have to finish your homework.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I struggled a lot during that time, but I feel like that was the first like challenging part. And that's when I noticed like, okay, well, I can make a difference in my academics if I put some time, because I struggled a lot during that time. I was almost like a C grade student, and I did fail a couple of courses during that time too. So yeah, it was really challenging.
I was actually pretty good in elementary. I'm surprised myself because I really liked going to school. Excuse me. I had a favorite teacher. Her name was Miss Napolitano.
Well, I think she in the same. Did she stay there?
No,
Sounds
no me
familiar.
acuerdo. 'Cause I remember I had her for summer, but when regular school came back, I don't know. I never saw her again. Well, she taught me how to write handwriting. Her class from day
yes.
one, she taught us how to write handwriting, and I loved it. And she was one of the best teachers I ever had. And then Mrs. Mills.
That sounds familiar. too.
Yeah, y luego está. She's still around. She taught folklórico.
Oh yes, I
Yeah,
do
Mrs.
remember.
Mills, una güera.
Yes,
Yes, yes,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
a good course too.
It was crazy because she taught us folklórico, and as years went by, I don't know if you heard Tonatiuh.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, so they did like a bigger reunion. So they asked all the previous dancers who were members of the group to come back and dance the 20th anniversary. So I went, and I got to dance with my teacher. That was that was one of the songs I got the opportunity to dance with her. So it was so awesome.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice to circle back. Like I think life works in mysterious ways. Like you think you're never gonna see someone, and then all of a sudden you get to encounter them.
Like there's
again.
another teacher named Mr. Strada. He was one of a great teacher that I had. I mean, that guy was so awesome. I still see him once in a while. I know his son coaches a ALSA football team. He's a head coach, and but Mr. Strada was another good teacher that I had growing up there. Yeah.
Oh, it's nice that you remember like a good amount of professors, like the teachers
Really?
that were. Yeah, I don't remember all of them by name, but also like Mendoza was there, and she was like a math teacher. So it's just like a lot of teachers that I still remember, but I do remember like also bad experiences as well when I was young, because my language barrier, like at home, it was like you speak Spanish only. It's just very disrespectful to speak English, especially with my elderly, like my grandparents. They were like, it's not respectful for you to not include us in your conversation. So at home it was Spanish, and at school at that time it was like only English.
Wow.
And there was like one professor I still remember. He was American, and he would say, hey, like if you want to go to the restroom, you can't speak Spanish. Like you gotta tell me I need to go to the restroom in English.
Oh, wow.
So as you could tell, I was like struggling to really find the balance of like incorporating English and Spanish. So that was really hard for me. Like I dreaded asking him just to go to the restroom.
Wow, that's crazy because me growing up or going to school at Jesse Sanchez, they had the program, but it was just Spanish only. So the teachers that I was going,
Oh, I think they did, but then they also had like they changed
the bilingual.
Yeah.
Towards my sixth grade es cuando they switched to bilingual.
Yeah, it was hard.
So yo
transition.
tenía español, and they really never taught me English. The only words I learned English was bad words,
Yeah, the easy one, the easy way.
like take it easy, you know what I mean? But sixth grade, that's cuando reality hit, because yo también tengo un heavy accent, and it was really hard for me to transition from Spanish to English.
Yeah.
Pero lo bueno que it was bilingual, so we'll do half and half. Where my biggest challenge was when I went to seventh grade at Alsasa.
Yeah, middle
that's
school.
when, dude, there was teachers que me decían, what do you mean you don't know how to write English?
Yes.
And they didn't understand, And yo me sentía tan mal because some of my friends, they sabían escribir inglés y yo no sabía. So you're like, dude, I felt really, really bad. Until this day, en vez que no me salen las palabras, ahorita no puedo decir aesthetics, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's just the Mexican in me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get you.
So you mentioned that language barrier was a big obstacle for you, growing up. But any other memory do you remember, as growing up with your family?
Yeah, I mean, I remember I think they shielded us a lot from all the violence. Like I was very surprised, like to see how much there was when I was a kid. But I think just like everything was cheaper. I remember gas. I remember like going with my dad and it was like $1.27. And the highlight of the day was like having 50 cents and going to the One Stop.
Yes,
And I was like, oh my God,
yeah.
I'm balling. Let me go get all these candy.
Yes.
But nowadays it's like, an ice cream is like almost like what, $5?
Yes.
It's, we were pretty good, I feel like back then.
El paletero iba y te vendía una paleta for
Yes.
50 cents.
Yes, I remember
Y
that.
ahora es $1.25.
Exactly.
And then I remember I
really
used to get
expensive.
Doritos with cheese right there with Steve. Right
Yes,
there,
yes,
Steve,
yes, yeah.
One Stop.
I think everybody knows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
El
really listen to
chahuiscle. El
exactly, el
Yeah,
chahuiscle.
yeah, yeah. Oh, he was in love with my aunt. Oh, my God.
Oh my God, I know.
Andaba atrás de mi tía y le que, oh, my God. Mi tía, no, ¿cómo andar con un chino? No offense to Asian people, but that
Yes.
was just my aunt. But I remember getting Doritos with cheese. It was $1.25.
I know.
Was it 2 Sundays ago before I started my diet? I went to La Paleteria Pacheco's in Gonzales. And I got a bag of Doritos. And I, hey, can you put some cheese and jalapeno? That bag was $6.
Whoa.
I was like, what the heck? I used
Talk
to buy
about
this.
inflation. Like,
Yes,
what is going
I was
on?
just like, I don't know if I want it no more, pero it was my last day of cheat,
Yeah, nah, totally. You got to go all the way.
You mentioned that your parents, migrated from Oaxaca, Mexico.
Yeah.
What values or traditions from their culture shape you to your upbringing?
Yeah, oh, that's a beautiful question. I feel like it's a lot. I think it's like honesty, resilience, hardworking, like their passion for their culture and their people. Like they're always, instilling us to be respectful and as well as like I always like hardly miss work because they've always showed me, like if you don't go to work, like who's gonna pay your bills? Like you gotta work hard, and I feel like I've learned a lot of that from my both of my parents, and they're both from Oaxaca actually. They're both from the same town, which is weird. Yeah. And then they ended up meeting in Salinas in the fields. So I don't know how that ended up, but I guess it was fate.
Yeah. It's crazy you say that because, my dad never called in sick. I remember he used to go to work.
Yeah.
Malo with fever, and my mom kept in the house. No, who's gonna,
Yeah.
one day is less money for us,
Exactly.
But I didn't see it. And I remember when I was growing up, I started working, and one day I was sick, and my dad was used to me going to work, and he said, "What are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm sick." Oh my God, I didn't hear the end of it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, the following time I got sick, I will still go to work because I knew I was not going to hear the end of it, right? So and now that I'm older, I don't live with my parents anymore, I'm independent. I do call in, when I call in sick.
It's because you really are sick.
Sí,
Yeah.
pero me acuerdo de mi papá. I remember
Yeah.
my dad. And I'd be like,
I
damn,
need to go to work.
Yes,
Yeah.
mi dad me mira ahorita. No, big old disappointment, you know what I mean?
No, the same thing goes with me too. I think about it twice. I'm like, am I really this sick that can I call out or no? No.
I
you
mean,
have to
at what
work.
point do you feel like, man, okay, I can't go to work?
Obviously, if I lose my voice, because I need to talk and that's my job. But
Yeah.
like at that point, or like if I cannot really go because stomach flu or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But otherwise, you have to go to work.
Did you ever feel pressure growing up due to your family responsibilities or circumstances? Did you ever feel like pressure?
No, I feel like honestly, sometimes I don't even know how I got here because my parents were not educated. My dad didn't even finish high school, and my mom didn't even finish like elementary. She was a person who didn't like school. And then my dad, he did want it to, but he wanted to go to the military, and his mom told him no. And he ended up coming to the U.S. kind of like retaliation because that was his passion.
Right.
And she said no, so he decided to do something else and come here. So I feel like I didn't feel pressure, but I think my only goal as a child was not to let my parents down, at least not to get pregnant and finish high school, because back then a high school diploma meant a better office job or something to that extent. And your parents come to the U.S. for a better life for you, so opportunity. So my mom was like, at least don't get pregnant.
Yes.
That was my goal. That was my pressure when I was a young kid.
I mean, looking back, what was one of the hardest thing you think was growing up
In Salinas?
in Salinas?
I think the hardest thing was like the same thing you're talking about, like going to different schools and then noticing like all the differences within each person, like socioeconomical status within every individual. As you go higher, you start noticing more. Like, okay, this person has more accessibility to tutors or things that you've never heard of, money and like gifts and clothes. So as you go into higher education, you start noticing the disparities.
Yeah.
And that was a little shocking to me because I was like, wait a second. Like in, Jesse Sanchez, everybody has similar background
Yes.
and we had the similar stuff. But then as you go up higher, you start noticing the differences that you were like, whoa, I really did suffer a good amount when I was a child in comparison to other kids.
Yeah, it's true because I remember looking back, dude. I was happy when my mom would buy me a pair of shoes
Yeah.
and Payless. I was
Same.
the happiest kid ever.
Same.
Yeah, ahora you see all these guys
Nike and
$400
yeah.
Yeezys. I was
Oh,
gassing,
yeah,
okay?
Yeezys, yeah,
Get
yeah.
to run faster or what?
Yes.
Or like, those chanclas are like 300 chanclas.
Oh, like the Uggs and everything. Yeah, it's expensive.
Like,
but
like I've seen little kids, probably like 6, 7 years old, walking with those chanclas, and I'm just like, dude.
yes, they're young.
I was like, dude. I mean, my respect to your mom bought
Yeah.
you those shoes because my mom, con un par de tenis de Payless, make them work out on for 2 years.
Yes, you better not rip them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, make them work, and or your primo will be like, hey, I got a new pair. Here's this one. They're still good.
Yeah.
I hated that.
The hand downs. Like, you need to use it. They can still have another year.
Yeah. I remember one time going to 7th grade, I have this funny story where my mom, she's like, well, let's go to fuimos a Goodwill.
Oh.
And I walked in and I look and I see one of my buddies. And then he looks at me, he's like, you don't say nothing, I don't say nothing.
Yeah,
But,
back in the day, that's how it was.
Yeah, but hey, I see, it was the only thing that our parents could afford at that
Exactly.
time, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Hey, but there was nothing wrong with Grooville because as I started getting older, I remember when I was in my rebel area, when I was a raver, a rebel, with house music and all that stuff, I used to go there, shop for antique shirts. This is bien cool,
Yeah, I mean, now that's the hip thing. Going
Yeah,
to Ross
yeah.
and like Marshalls and everything.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, you gotta put some. La otra vez I had unos Under Armour shoes de Ross for like 30
Yeah.
bucks, So I was like, you do get some deals, so.
Yeah, you do. You still do. That's good.
So you went to J. Sanchez. Obviously, what other elementary school you went to?
No, I stayed there. And then,
okay.
And
I'm
then I
sorry.
went to La Paz. You know how
La Paz Middle School when
yeah,
they opened? Yeah.
when like second year when they opened, I was the second class.
Oh, you didn't get to go to Alsasa.
No, I didn't. Yeah, because my parents were struggling with money, so we were living with one of my aunts.
Oh, okay.
You
So you were in that area?
in that area.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So that
Yeah.
district was La Paz.
La Paz. And how was it, La Paz?
Actually, it was pretty good. Not many people from elementary that went with me went to La Paz, so that was a little bit different. Like meeting new people, and then that's where I met a couple of my long-term friends that we ended up going to high school.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I can't say nothing bad. I mean, I guess like there was one episode that really struck to me. It was like one kid, his name was Jonathan, and he ended up passing away like in the field. He had like asthma, and we did have a PE class, and right before I did end up like having that class with him, we were doing an activity, and it's just crazy when you're a kid, like you don't think about like how you can be here in one moment and then someone can die right away.
Yeah.
And then we were in lunch and then he just had an asthmatic attack. I'm not really sure exactly what happened. I guess he didn't have his inhaler, and he ended up having like an asthma attack, and he didn't make it. So most of the people who went to middle school will remember that day.
That day, man.
Yeah, it was
that
pretty
sucks.
pretty sad. Like we went to the last class and they told us through the intercom like he had passed away.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Well, man, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and then as a kid, like you don't think about that. So
Yeah.
that was the first time I had experienced like a
Well,
death experience.
You're innocent as a kid. You're growing up. You're like, whoa. You know what I mean? One thing that I like to ask all the guests that I have is that, and I forgot to ask you, is that going to elementary school, did you have any goal and aspirations, like what you wanted to be at that time?
No, I did not.
So you're just cruising through.
I was just honestly like I was always the I guess like the bad egg of the family. Like I wasn't doing like that good, and I was like always just wanting to play around in the playground. And I was like, oh, some people would make fun of me. They're like, oh, she's going to end up working like in a retail, like at Payless or like Toys R Us.
When you say people were making fun of you say like within family members?
Within the family, yeah. Like a lot of them are like, oh, she doesn't need to study. She'll just go retail or probably get married.
Yeah, a ver qué dice. What do they say now?
Now they can't say much.
Like, oh. Tu tía like, oh my God, I feel bad, mija, ¿qué tengo?
Nah. free advice.
Yeah, free advice.
Well, it's because it's honestly like you don't think about that when you don't have enough money and you're living day by day.
Right.
You don't think about, oh, my daughter's gonna go to this school and they're gonna become like they're gonna have an actual career.
Did your mom and your dad ever talk to you about that? Like, hey, mija, do you have
No,
any...
because it's kind of like when you were, I'm pretty sure your parents were so busy working.
Right.
And their goal was like, how can we put a head over a roof and then like feed our children and just everything. That was basically the goal. And then I think after middle school and then high school, they started to realize like, hey, we need to focus more on their careers. Like they probably can do something else, like not just graduating with a high school diploma.
Gotcha. So obviously you went to Alsa High School.
I did.
Yeah.
Go Trojans.
Yeah, go Trojans. Actually, my freshman year from El Sosal, I ended up going to Alvarez. Pues que vivía en la Costa Plaza.
Oh, yes.
So whoever lived in that area has to go to Alvarez. So I experienced some of that because all my friends went to Alsa. Only like 2 friends of mine went to Alvarez, but you know, Alvarez was a whole different breed. You know?
It is.
Yeah,
it is
también
very
they had the
different.
gangs going. You know, anyways, that's a different story. But my sophomore year, summer going to my sophomore year, I ended up transferring to Alsa.
Oh, was it a bad experience then?
Yeah, Alvarez was definitely a bad experience.
Oh,
Pero I feel like if no me fuera salido de ahí, I think I would have been a different individual now.
Like a better individual or
A bad individual.
Oh,
yeah,
ooh.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's not. They shouldn't. You shouldn't have experienced that for sure.
Well, like I said, that's a different story. But so I decided to. I begged my mom, you know, but she didn't know the process. And then I did like the school choice. I had to write an essay why I wanted to go to Alsa, and then I got denied. So the only way I was able to do it for my own benefit, because I got tired of what I was going through, was to use my uncle's address, my padrino's address. So that was the only way I was able to freaking
move from high school.
And I ended up going to I entered Alsa my summer, going to my sophomore year. Yeah, it was a whole different story, dude.
You were happy.
Oh, dude, I love going to school.
Engaging video content can drive your business forward. We specialize in creating professional corporate videos and commercials tailored to your brand. Collaborative ideas help display your vision. Let's elevate your business today. LC1 Productions, crafting stories that matter.
Yo me acuerdo que I used to get my clothes ready the day before.
Ironing and everything.
Oh, I was ready to rock and roll, you know? But yeah, so in Alsa, you go to Alsa. Do you still don't have a goal or in mind what you want to do?
I ended up having like my epiphany, I guess, around that time. You know, my little cousin ended up as well having like cancer. So that was another experience. And then I don't know about now, but Alisal did have a program. It's called the Summer Health Institute. And I ended up going to Salinas Valley Health Academy, and that kind of was a glimpse of, hey, maybe I can be in this career path of the medical field. Maybe not as a doctor, but as a nurse or some type of technician, something in the medical field.
Right.
It sparked my interest, and I'm like, can I really get here? And I doubted myself a lot because I was like, well, I'm not always like the best student. I don't have the money. Who's going to help me? So it was a little bit hard, but it sparked my interest.
Like around, was that like your, was it junior, senior
It was
year?
like junior year. Yeah, around junior year.
So senior year, did anything else seal the deal for you? Like, okay, I'm going to do this.
Yes, like this is where the mentors come into play. Franco is one of the English teachers at Alisal, and she was always pushing, and she's American, and she's always so nice to all the students. She's still teaching there.
Shout out to Franco.
Yeah, I know. Shout out. Yeah, she was amazing. Like she was like, you know what? Don't feel bad about yourself. Like if you have not the best grades, you can still make it up. Like you deserve to go to college just like any other person. You should apply to UC, CSU. She pushed a lot of her students, including myself. So I think that was one of the reasons why I even applied, because I wasn't even into sports and stuff like that. I was more into academics at that time. And, the grade did hit like I did get a little bit of bad grades because I went to calculus and I got a bad grade. I was into math and I became like a geek, I guess, during that time. And I was focused, but I never really thought about college because I had no idea how the process worked. And, and I started noticing like you have to pay for applications and like just asking my parents for money. I really kind of dreaded that because I was like, I know they're paying bills. I don't know how much they can afford. So that was also a limitation, like applying to whatever they could afford.
But you never lost hope, though.
I almost did, but, my mentor came into play and she's like, no, you gotta apply, at least apply.
So besides Mrs. Franco, anybody else mentor you on ALSA? Because I know sometimes ALSA has a bad rep, and I experienced it when I talked to counselors when I was going, hey, man, I want to do this. What are your commands? Well, whatever you want to do. I mean, you need this much grades. I wanted to go to West Point University.
Okay.
And that's a military school. And la neta, dude, the counselor I have, Mr. Rodriguez, that dude never freaking helped me out at all.
No.
So
I had the same experience with the counselors. They were just focused on like the the valedictorians.
Yes, yeah.
And they would say like, oh, kind of like you are going more to a CSU. And like you can't really go to a UC. And because they're focusing on kids who actually can make it.
And those kids were always on their concert room.
Yeah.
I remember walking in Los Mirados ahí like, oh,
yes,
dude,
I know.
AP dudes.
So yeah, very, very little professors could help out, or teachers were helping out. And some of them were more focused on the people who actually had good grades on paper.
I only had two teachers in high school, Mr. Silva. No, more than two teachers. Mr. Silva, Mr. Burnett. I don't know if you ever remember Mr. Burnett. He was a tall white boy.
Is that the baile folklorico?
Yeah,
okay,
Mr.
yes.
Silva, and then Mrs. Estrada. Remember Mrs. Estrada?
I think,
Gloria Estrada?
Yes.
She was really cool. But I'm glad that at least you had a teacher that was like pushing you, and helped you take that next step, So when you started applying to schools, how did that conversation went with your parents?
I think it was just luck, honestly, because they had no idea. They were like, you figure it out. We're just going to give you the money. And then it was just like talking to my sister, talking to my friends. Like my sister was a year ahead of me, so she had applied as well. And then just figuring out on your own, honestly. And then your other, friends were like, what do I put here?
But did your parents knew what you wanted to do?
No. I think
you just told me I want to go to university. And that's it?
Yes.
But deep down in your mind, was it like you wanted to surprise them, or nada más?
No, I think it's because I didn't really know that I could be capable of, being a physician. I wasn't even thinking about that. When I went to the Summer Health Institute, I was like, whoa, maybe I could be here, but I think I want to do something in the medical field, maybe like a nurse or something else.
So let's dive into that. So you applied to school. Which university did you end up?
I went to Cal State San Bernardino.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's where I met Christina. Well, I know Christina since high school, but yes, that's where we kind of got together. And
you guys
with
were
my
roomies?
Other friend. Yes, and with another friend, Leticia. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're good friends.
So you get there, and what's your goal during that time of year?
Okay, that is when it shifted into more like the medical field, because my cousin ended up getting cancer during like the middle of the high school, and he was pretty young, and then that sparked my interest in the medical field. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I could be, but if I'm not a doctor, maybe I can be like something in the medical field. Let me do biology, or maybe something with like cancer research or something. So I started going to biology, and then it was a concentration in the medical field. Yeah, that's how I started getting more into that.
So you did what, 4 years?
Like 3.5. Like, yeah.
3.5.
Yeah.
So 3.5, and then what was next after that? You graduated from university, Obviously, I'm assuming your parents are happy they got your degree.
Oh yes, they were over the moon. Yeah.
Did they ask you like, okay, Mija, what's next? What's your plan of attack? Are you coming home or what?
Yes, of course. Like they were like, what's happening next? And then I thought it was gonna be like more biology and do like maybe some type of research. That's what was going on with my head. And I was like, I want to make money and like provide for my family.
Right.
So I was looking for jobs, but oh my God, it was so hard to get a job. Little did I know that bachelor's was not enough. Like you had to do a master's to do a lot of the lab following, and like you have to do a little bit more studying. So it was really hard getting a job. And then I ended up working in retail at Macy's right after. So my dad was like
So you're
really
like,
upset.
God damn it, Tia.
Yes. I ended up in retail. So it happened. My dad was not happy about that. He was like, we helped you go to college and now you're working at retail. Like, what are you doing? Instead of advancing, you're going backwards.
But
What's happening?
he didn't understand that it was not easy for you to get a job.
Yes, I don't think he understood. He's like, well, if you are meant to get a good job because you got your bachelor's, like, well, this is not adding up. And my mom was like a different person. She was like, hey, at least like she's not asking you for money. She's actually has an impeccable work ethic because she's trying to work for her own money. And yeah, that was like a hard time because I was like, okay, well, what's gonna happen next? Even I was thinking about it too.
You said that you finished school in 3 years, right? 3 years
Three and
now?
a half, like 3.5.
Usually it's 4 years, huh?
Yeah, because it was a quarter system. So I used to do like, instead of coming home, I used to stay there and just, stuck up on like courses.
Did you face any challenges or any course, any particular
Oh,
course?
of course I did.
Yeah?
It was hard, like staying away from parents. I would hardly come home.
No
So
parties, nothing?
yes, of course there was a time to party, but it was like party hard, work hard. So it was, 3 a.m. Okay, pero vamos a la clase a las 8. Yeah, I there was like everybody has their own times. Yeah, so I used to have fun and then ended up going to my classes. But yeah, I ended up failing one course, and that was really hard because you can advance to the next courses if you don't pass that class. So I almost gave up again. And I went to the council. I voy otra vez to the council. I was like, what can I do now? Because I failed. Because, my dad used to say, like, there's, like, 3 type of individuals, like el sabio, el ganador, y el perdedor. So he would be like, if you lose, you lose. And I would be like, okay, I lost. I failed. And I was like, I can't advance. Like, how can I advance? I failed. I'm a failure. So I went to the counselor. I was like, okay, I'm not good enough for this. Like, what is the next step? And she's like, well, what do you want to do in life? And I was like, well, I don't know. I just see myself in the medical field. And she's like, well, if you see yourself in the medical field, how come you don't take it again? And I was like, what do you mean? I failed. I obviously cannot make it. And she's like, no, like just because you failed, that doesn't determine the patient's, like the person's like, like passion for another job, and you can try again. And then I was like, okay, well, what's my other option? She's like, okay, well, you can finish this degree and you can finish this degree. But then if you take those courses, then that's straying away from the medical path. Is that really what you want to do? And I said, no, I want to try again. And then I ended up getting a C. It's not the best, but I ended up
still passing grade.
Yeah. So I think, people think like if you failed, that you're done. But it's like, no, I think a lot of failures lead you to a lot of learning.
Right.
And if you don't fail, then there's no opportunity to grow.
Right.
So you have to fail, I think.
Yeah.
Because then I think if everything's too easy for you, then you're not going to find a real passion with your career and your job. So.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. Good motivation. What you just said, but it's okay. So moving forward, you're working back on retail, right?
Yes.
Your dad is disappointed on you because
very disappointed.
Your tias are happy because
hey, discounts. Shout out to Macy's. No, I met like incredible people too. Like some friends I still hang out here and there, and they give you good discounts. So I was super happy. Don't get me wrong. Like I love shoes, so I was on the shoe department.
Oh, that was
it was good.
Easy.
Yeah.
So how long did you last working there in the retail?
Almost like 2 years, because after college you need to take your MCAT for medical school, and I had no idea how much you had to study. And then I got another hit. Like our family ended up, my grandma ended up getting diagnosed with cancer. So that was a very hard time. So I was focusing on helping her out. And, you know, she also has a language barrier. She came from Oaxaca, and she was like working in the fields. And then I had to take her to the doctor's appointments, and she ended up getting diagnosed with cancer and passing away within 3 months after diagnosis. So I was like really, in a way, I think I was depressed. I was like, oh, I'm just going to stay here. It was comfortable. Yeah.
So what made you like, did you end up studying for that during that time, or did you?
Yes, before my grandma got diagnosed, I ended up like taking time, and I was studying, and then I was working, and I was trying to save up money so I wouldn't ask my dad, because he was already really upset that I was not working with my degree. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start working and not depend so much on him and try to figure out
How to do it.
Yeah.
So after those 2 years go by, what was the next?
So after those 2 years, my grandma ended up passing away, and I just gave up hope. I'm like, I think I'm just gonna probably work in retail or do something else. And I was looking to phlebotomy.
Oh, okay.
And what is that school? I think it's a Healed. I forgot.
Healed College at the
Healed
time?
College,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think they had a program that they could help you out. So I was really applying for that. And then my friend Letty, who's also a friend of Christina, told me like, no, you should really like probably go into the medical field if you really want to go. And then I was like, no, I don't think I'm cut for it, because obviously just with everything and then what happened to my grandma, I was like, I don't think medicine is for me. I was really disappointed in the medical field. And I was like, okay, my grandma ended up going to like 4 doctors, and they couldn't figure out what she had. And then the last one ended up doing a biopsy, and, you know, ended up having cancer. So I was like, and it was too late.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to go through that again. And then she's like, no, I think we should talk to our mentor. And that's why I went to see Franco. And then she was the one who was like, well, if you experience this, like, wouldn't you want someone to not experience that? And then if you're really passionate about medicine, and you can make a change and help another family, maybe they have a better outcome than what you did.
So she was like the last push you needed.
Yeah. She was the last push. So I was literally applying for phlebotomy. And then at that time, I had another good friend that was in UAG School of Medicine. And I got in touch with him and his partner, and they helped me out through the process. And then at the same time that the application for the phlebotomy got accepted, the same time I got accepted to go to UAG. So at that time, everything was hidden. I hadn't told my parents. And then I'm like, I'm making a trip. And they're like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to Texas. What are you doing? Oh, I'm just doing a trip. But it was honestly just for an interview for UAG, for medical school. And since I got in, that's when I told them, oh, guess what? I'm moving to Mexico when I got accepted.
Wait, so you went to Texas, do an interview?
Yes, because for UAG, it's a school of medicine, but you can go to Texas or you can go to Guadalajara. But because I wasn't sure, like I hadn't been to Mexico for a long time in that area, and I was like, okay, Texas is safer, and I was going to go alone.
What part of Texas?
I forgot what part of Texas it was, but it was in Texas, I remember.
So you decided to go to Guadalajara? ¿Y qué dijeron tus parents when you're like,
Está loca.
Yeah?
Está loca.
Really?
Yeah, my dad was like, what is going on? Like,
But you're like,
what
Dad,
happened?
¿qué hace doctora? You
Yeah,
know?
and then he was like, okay. I think he was like really shocked, and he was like, how did it happen? Like, what money? How did you do it? And I was like, I saved up with Macy's money. And then he's like, okay, let me ask for time off from work, and we're gonna go check it out, the campus. And he ended up helping me out for housing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was really nice. Like, he helped me out at the end because, he was like, oh, she's actually trying to do what she wanted to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So you get to Guadalajara, you get your spot. You living by yourself?
Yes. No, actually, I ended up meeting someone. Her name is Lola, who's also a physician now. And we ended up meeting and talking on the computer, Facebook. They did like a Facebook group, and we ended up like living in the same facility.
Nice. Was it like an apartment, a little house, or a condo? Or
It was a house, but there was this lady who was renting to schools from for the medical school, but they had international students from Mexico and then U.S. students like us, so we were both renting a room.
Oh, wow. So in Mero Guadalajara.
Sí,
Yeah.
Zapopan.
Zapopan. How was it, like, going to school over there?
Oh my God, I loved it. I love Zapopan and UAG.
It's beautiful, huh?
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. I was like, nothing compared to Salinas, sorry, but it's so nice.
I remember for one of my good buddies' bachelor party, we went to Guadalajara, and I've been to Moroleón, no, Morelia, Michoacán. Y Morelia, Michoacán siempre se me hacía bien grande. I always thought that city was big. I was like, oh my God, they have Costco, they have Burger King, they have
Yes.
McDonald's. But as soon as I went to Guadalajara, I fell in love with Guadalajara.
I know, same.
I was
ended
like,
up falling
they
in
have
love.
this, they have that. Oh my God. And I was
Yeah.
because my wife's from Mecca.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, baby, they have this. Let's move over here. Look, you know what I mean? I was like, because you could definitely work over there.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
So I was like, I couldn't imagine how you were over there.
Yeah, I was over the moon because they have P.F. Chang's. They have everything. I was
Yeah,
like, we don't even have that in Salinas.
So how was your journey in Guadalajara going to medical school?
Oh, it was amazing. Like, I met incredible people that are still friends of mine. We struggle the same. Like, you know, it's a different culture shock, like living in Mexico.
Yeah.
And, you know, the dollars is not dollars, it's like pesos. So it was learning the currency and then just like the amount of loans that you're getting for medical school. I was like, oh man, like I better not quit now because look how much loan I accrued. So that was a struggle. But yeah, it was
Any
nice.
challenges you faced over there besides, you know, financially, you know, academic wise? Like, how was it like going from regular university to medical school? Like, what was?
Ooh, yeah. It's a big transition because it's very guided on your own terms. Like, you have to work on just studying for yourself. But I met incredible people that we kind of transitioned and helped each other. But yeah, I struggled a lot. Like, again.
So how was it your first day? Did you have to go like like with the white coat? Did
Yes,
you
you
was
have
there, like
to.
a dress thingy.
It was a dress code. Yeah, you could only wear white. So it was everything white. Like scrubs, all white.
Yeah.
And yeah, because in Mexico, they always go with the white, you know, coat and then like the scrubs. And I was like, oh my God, like that's so dirty.
White shoes too.
White shoes too. And then, you know, Mexico, you have to be very clean. My parents always used to tell me that there was a dress code and they were very strict. So it was the same thing. I was like, oh my God, I have to clean my shoes and I have to do all this. And without parents, without help. Yeah, it was a struggle in the beginning, but I was pretty comfortable in Oaxaca and Zapopan.
I would describe your first day.
My first day, I was super nervous, and then I remember dressing up and then all white, and then I'm like, where's the class? Like, where's everything? But the campus where I was not the same as like the main campus. So it was really old. And to me, I was like, I'm in shock. I'm like, am I paying all this money to come here?
They cheat me out.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's fake. So yeah, at first I was like, oh man, I was so nervous. But when I saw like everybody else coming in, there was a lot of people from Puerto Rico.
Really?
Yes, a lot of Puerto
everybody.
Ricans. Yes, a lot of people from Texas, from California. So it was nice to see everyone. And then I made good friends instantly. And those people became long-term friends. So, it was nice.
What was the language? Español or English?
So most of the professors spoke English, but some of them also spoke only Spanish. So some of the courses were like in Spanish only, but most of them were like bilingual.
Like,
So
did
they
you
were
have
pretty good.
multiple classes on one day, or it was just
So it
one
was like a
class?
big lecture, and we would stay there, and the professors will come in.
Oh,
Yeah.
So it was the same room, different professors. Damn. What was one of the most memorable things you remember? Like,
Oh my
in
God, the
school?
anatomy class.
Really?
Yeah, they
So
had
you got-
actual corpses. Like I hadn't seen one, and I was like, what? It looked like mummies, and we had to use it for the labs, like to name the muscles. And so yeah, I was like, oh my God, like I wasn't too happy about that because they were like old corpses, and I was like, oh, the smell was really strong. But yeah, it was like a little shocking. I was like, oh.
Ahorita que dices que name the anatomy, does the October have this little pain right here in the back? and I blame it on the because back then I was like I have my ego lifting when I was going to the gym.
yeah.
Siempre estaba malo de la espalda. I was had a bad back. Y ahorita que I'm sitting right here, I was just feeling like bothering me, and I was like my PTSD kicks in. I'm
Because of
yeah, and I'm like, and sometimes, you know, it starts with
Yeah.
the lower back, and I'm like, ¿qué tengo, you know? But you're thinking, I mean, maybe it's just my back, and I could put an adjustment or algo, you know? Because I've seen my chiropractor, she tells me, you're just tight. You're just tight. So I
like
just
a lot
keep-
of tension.
Yeah.
Muscular.
So I just hold on to that. But as far as anatomy, so you get to like name out every muscle, everything.
Yeah.
Have you ever tripped out on like a crazy body like esta así, you know, or just like
No.
Or you
We
ever
didn't.
wonder dónde vienen or
that crossed our minds.
Yeah.
We're like, where did they get all these bodies? And then they told us, like, they donated. And they were like, yeah, they
donate
are
to science.
donated to science. And I was like, okay, maybe, okay. I was like, it doesn't feel nice to know that, that person was a family member of someone. So I'm pretty sure we always had to treat it with respect.
You were like,
Yeah, no, they told us not to touch like that. They would, with examinations, they would be like, everything has to be proper. You can't touch. Like, this is where the pin is, and that's what you need to name. No touching. Okay.
wow. Did you ever see like open bodies, like the brain, the heart?
So everything was dissected already.
Oh,
So
okay,
we
okay.
didn't have to, because in Mexico they were like, these bodies were pretty much given to science, and we don't want you to handle everything else. Everything else was dissected.
So it's not kind of like your science class in high school. You
No.
get to dissect that.
No. It was not like that. Everything was already dissected, and it was given in proper respect.
Oh, okay.
But still, it was a shock seeing the dead body and seeing all the muscles.
What else was shock for you during that course of time that you were
The
there?
course of time, I think also just like how the school system works, and the international versus the national, they call it the nationals. And there was like also discrimination. Like a lot of the internationals would kind of look down on us because, it was like their school too. And it's kind of like, ay, vienen los gringos, and you could hear like a little chatter over here. So it didn't feel like we belonged there.
Even though they knew that you come from,
The Hispanic background. Yeah, they know the difference. Yeah. So that was uncomfortable at times.
How long you lasted there?
For 2 years.
2 years. So you graduate, right? Or no?
No, after those 2 years, I went to Reno, Nevada for orientation. So that was another 2 years.
So how was it when you're like, okay, this is the last week here in Guadalajara. I'm gonna miss this place. I wish I could stay.
Oh my God!
You couldn't stay there, or you have to do 2 years and then move somewhere?
You have to move somewhere. But I don't know if you guys heard, but our class, we celebrated. Everything was fun. But then one of our classmates got abducted. Oh, no. So it was a pretty scary time. Like after we all left, we found out the next day that our classmate was abducted, and that was really hard on all of us.
Was it a girl or
It's a guy. We were so scared for his life. But, I can't really talk much about it, but he ended up having a hard time, but he was able to go back home safely. I don't know how long it was, but he's safe now.
Oh, I can imagine the traumatic event that he got to experience. You know what I mean? That sucks. So you go to Reno. You're there. You say you're there for an interview.
Was more rotation. So
okay.
Reno, it was like, you're already done with all your courses and UAG. Now you have to have hands-on. So you go to like the hospitals and you get to shadow the doctors and like the nurse practitioners.
Notes.
Yeah. And they would send us and be like, do your homework, like assess him and diagnose him and then bring back the information. I'll let you know if it's right or you're wrong. And yeah, it was like a lot of that.
So during that time, you're not working. You're getting loans.
Oh, yeah. Loan after loan.
Damn.
Yeah. It was
Sale
hard.
caras.
Yeah, like the rent also, you have to figure out, you have to budget like your housing, your food, your transportation. It was expensive.
So it became expensive when you were in Reno versus when you were in Guadalajara.
Oh, yeah, 3 times, 4 times more.
Yeah.
Because in Mexico, the pesos is a little bit more affordable.
Yeah.
So you could expand your money a little bit. But in the U.S., no.
Do you remember how much estaba el dólar allá en Mexico? How much was the dollar?
I think it was like 20, up to 20 or 19. So it was good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were happy about that. So that's why I said like it was a good time.
Yeah.
Financially. I didn't stress much. But then once coming back, it was hard.
So you finish your 2 years, you go to Reno, you're shadowing doctors, you're presenting your diagnosis based on live patients?
Yes.
Okay.
It was like we would see the patients that they would see, the doctors, and we're like, okay, this is the student from UAG. Is it okay if, she shadows me and she does all this? And yeah. Most of the time, the actual patients won't be okay with it because it wasn't like really bad. It was just like taking the history and physical, just talking to them. And then the doctor will come in and do the rest.
And how did you do when you were like, go back and do your homework and come back and present it to the doctor?
So it was really stressful because coming out of UAG, it was all book, but this is like actually presenting, and he would make you present in front of other people. So some other people, I had no idea, like my other colleagues. So it was really stressful. And some people wanted really short. And as a student, you're like, no, pues déjame, I'm going to tell him everything hasta que comió y todo. And they were like, no, that's not right. And they would kind of scold you right in front, or some of them would be kind of mean. They were like, nope, esta no va a funcionar, no sirve, no, es que tarda mucho, and she takes too long, and then the information is too long, and the diagnosis is wrong, or, she needs to work on this. So it was pretty hard. Yeah.
So they give you constructive criticism.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They don't shy away from it.
Right. And obviously, that's how you learn.
Yeah,
You
that's
go
how
back
you
to
learn.
the-
Yeah. But then you're not used to it.
How long did you were in Reno?
For 2 years.
2 more
Yeah,
years?
2 years.
At what time during those 2 years you feel like you got more comfortable with the process and you started getting the hang of it?
Yeah, I think after the first year, because you go to the same hospital system, different doctors, so it got easier. Towards the 1 year, I was like, oh, this is a piece of cake. I know what they have.
Yeah.
And then I think as the more you go, the easier it gets.
But as your goal was to be a doctor, right? As you're getting there, you don't do no blood work. The nurses do that.
No, we don't do any
But
blood
you have
work.
to train for that, right? Just in case or no?
That was more during UAG. During the courses, we did train a little bit, but no, because honestly, you don't have time as a physician here in the U.S. to do all of that. Everything works by system. Like the phlebotomist does the lab.
Yeah, they have like a system.
Yeah, they have a system. Otherwise, we will not be able to have time.
But también tienes que saber de medicina, no? You have to know about medicine and all that stuff.
Like for phlebotomist or
No, like just in general, like if you're gonna prescribe something or like.
oh yes, that's the 2 years. The first 2 years at UAG was a little bit of like phlebotomy, like how to draw blood, and then it was all pharmacology, like about medications and like how to diagnose this and what kind of things are come with this disease and how to treat it. That was everything, and then packed for 2 years, and then the 2 years in Reno, it was like, okay, now you get to the world and you apply it. Yeah.
Oh shit.
But it was like a hard switch, like
Yeah.
from books only for 2 years to, okay, we have like real
hands-on.
patients. We did have some hands-on at Mexico and in UAG. They would take us to rural areas and we would see the patients, but it's nothing compared to what we see here.
Wow, that's crazy. So first year you're like, all right, I got this. Second year you feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
going with the flow.
Yeah.
What was your hours? Did you work at night? Did you work in the day, or it was just during the day?
Honestly, it was a little bit of both. Like that's when you experience different shifts. It was usually like an 8 to 5. But then if you were doing OB with the gynecologist, sometimes they would call you in for delivery, and that could be in the night as well.
Oh, did you ever deliver a baby?
At that time, I didn't. No, that was during residency. I feel like you get overworked in residency. So after the 2 years in Reno, I got accepted to residency here in Salinas and Natividad, and that's when they really work you, like 90 plus hours. I was working from like Sunday to Saturday.
And that's free, right? Residency, you work for free, or you still get paid?
Oh, you get paid, but it's nothing compared to what you make after you're done.
So I was the first 2 years in Guadalajara, you're not getting paid.
No.
You're in Reno, you're not getting paid.
Oh, no.
Did you see anything crazy during your second year in Reno? You were like, whoa. Or it was just more assessing the patients and then figuring out what they have?
Yeah, no, it wasn't too crazy. I feel like most of the things were like psychiatry, because we didn't have a lot of psychiatry at UAG. And I think that was a little bit different. So that was a little shocking, the psychiatry.
So you finished your 2 years there. Yes, you got accepted to residency here because you wanted to come back home, right?
I wanted to come back home, yeah.
Yeah, here in Natividad, we have a trauma center, right?
Yes,
it's a trauma center, and I got to do my internship hours there when I was taking this class. I needed to take a class, and I took EMT. I was like, let me try it out. You know what I mean? Let me check this out. And I took it, and I did my 12 hours there, and I was like, holy crap.
Right?
I started at 7, met with the head nurse, and then me pusieron con otra girl. She was so cool. I forgot her name. She was a sweetheart. She was pregnant at the time. Y she was a medical assistant.
Oh.
Y me traía para abajo. En cuanto llegamos ahí, as soon as we got there, the alarm starts going. Doo, doo, doo.
Oh, like a code blue?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they start explaining what was going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. I remember the teacher was saying, because the teacher was a paramedic and retired. And I was like, okay, cool. como, ¿qué voy a hacer? You know, pretty much just stay out of the F way, you know?
Yeah.
So me dice la muchacha, dude, I can't remember her name, Karina? I forgot her name. But she was a really cool person. Me dice, hazte pa' acá, and like, move out of the way. And I remember seeing the firefighter getting out of the ambulance, and he just boom, boom. And I was like, I never seen the compressions go all the way down, to be honest with you.
No, yeah.
Y pues obviously it was a female, you know, she was exposed, you know, and there were a paramedic was doing notes, and then he turns around, he moves the firefighter out of the way because the firefighter was soaked, you know, like in sweat.
Yeah, it's a lot of work doing
And I was
chest
just like,
compressions.
you know, he was pretty big, you know,
Big, yeah.
and the paramedic takes over, and then the nurse takes over, she's breathing, and then se la llevan un cuartito, and then like 30 minutes later, during that time, I see everybody rushing. I see the X-ray machine, I see the phlebotomist.
People
I see like 30 people in there.
I know, in a little tiny room.
Yes, and I was just like, and then the next thing you know, I see the doctor comes out, takes everything off, you know, starts writing down. And I was like, what? And then he starts telling the head nurse, he died, time of death, da-da-da. And I'm listening to everything. And I was like, holy crap. And next time you know, the head nurse tells the girl, like, hey, you too, you know, after like 10 minutes after, I forgot how long it took to take her body out to the contaminated room. There's
like the morgue?
Yeah, there's like a little room. Dude, that was the most shocking time of my life. Okay, I walked in and I just saw her lifeless body there, you know, and I was just like, and one of the nurses came in and just took everything, you know.
Like if it was so normal, so casual.
Yes.
And for you, we're like, what's going on? These
but you
people
know what?
are...
The head nurse there, she told me, she's like, don't get offended the way we act. A lot of people take it to the offense that we're mean, but we're just numb to it. She's like, don't get offended. She told me, all right? I'm like, okay. So she warned me about it. So when I saw this other nurse just taking everything out, and I was just like, and she walked out. She was just exposed, and she still had the little tags, you know, from the, what is it, to hear
like the
heart.
EKG and everything else. Yeah, they need to hook you up.
At Juan Avila Photography, we specialize in capturing decisive headshots and portraits that tell your unique story. Serving Salinas, Monterey County, and beyond, our high-quality images reflect your professionalism and authenticity. Whether for corporate teams, executives, or personal branding, let us elevate your image with headshots tailored to your needs. Book your session today.
So I looked at her and she's praying, and I'm just like, why are you praying? But, you know, that's just, I mean, I guess that's what she did. So anyways, I covered her, you know, I tucked her hands in, you know, I was like pale yellow because it's like, I've never seen this before. I've never seen somebody lifeless in front of me. I didn't know how to put that thing is so hard to push.
Oh, the gurney?
Yes. I was like, pal de boy.
Oh,
you know
yeah, like
I mean?
it's steering the office and you're like, no.
So la muchacha me ayudó. We take her to that room. Y pues, you know, I was praying inside my head and it was cold in there. Yeah. And, pero sentí algo tan feo chilling estando ahí. And I was just like, wow. So anyways, another nurse comes in and she's just taking her belongings and it's putting una bolsita, like a little bag. And again, you know, uncovers her and I felt like, oh man, so I cover her back. And I was just like, I think I'm done for the day. And it was 7:45.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very early.
For me, it felt like it was 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
fast paced.
I text my wife, I think I'm done. She's like, no, tough it out, you know? Yeah. And I was just like, well, I don't know if I want to do this. I mean, I'm just taking the class because I'm curious about it, you know?
Yeah.
Because that time I figured that I could use that EMT certificate to work like part-time on the weekends, like soccer games and stuff like that. But that day I was in shock seeing the doctors, seeing the nurses, you know, the trauma center, everything that goes. I couldn't imagine how much they overworked you in your residency there. So
yeah, they work you for sure.
So your first day you get there, hands on deck, ready to rock and roll. You nervous?
Oh, extremely.
Yeah?
Extremely.
So who did you check in, or you just walked in like, all right, let's do this?
No, they usually do it smoothly. A couple of weeks before, they make you pretty much like interact with all the new interns, and then they pair you with your support system, which is like the higher level like residents, and they're like, oh, this is your buddy, like in case something happens. And then even the doctors, like they're your attendings, they're like, oh, this is your head of supervisor. Like if something happens, he's your mentor, she's your mentor. You need to talk to them. So they eased us through like how everything works. It's like a course of like how the computers work, how to badge, how to do notes and stuff like that. And then they tell you, okay, now you're gonna go to the real world. And then they're like, this is the first rotation and enjoy it. Yeah, so my first rotation, it was easy. It was peds. So it was like with the babies and it was really cute. I was nervous and I was like learning how to staff again. Like remember how you were asking me about rotations at Reno? It was like even worse because it was with the attendings, with the nurses, and they just put you on the spot with everyone.
Right.
And they're like, okay, present the patient, tell me the diagnosis, tell me the treatment. And I was like, am I doing this right? Can he go home? Can he not go home? But the staff there was really nice.
Really?
And my senior was so nice. He's also a doctor, and he was super nice and super understanding. Like, hey, it's the first time. It's okay. You don't do the best presentation the first time. You just need more practice.
Okay, let me ask you this. So when you already you're at residency in Natali Silva, right? So you already finished with school, or that's just your probationary period, or?
That's just like pretty much, yes, like a probation of you get accepted into residency, but you still have to finish the program and you still have to take other exams. And then you have to take your boards after you're done with like residency.
Then you'll be official.
And then you'll be official.
Okay.
So pretty much you're still not, you're just
but
working.
You're working.
Yeah, and you're getting some pay. Yeah.
Okay. So your first day goes smooth, or your first week goes smooth, or just the first day?
I think it was like, I wouldn't say smooth. I would just say like it was good overall, but I had to learn a lot still.
On the first day?
On the first day, even the first week, it was a struggle because I don't know if you guys ever been to the hospital, but no hospital is calm. There's always a lot of people. So there was a lot of cases, and everything was a challenge because it was a different case all the time.
You deal with a lot of personalities, a lot of upset parents.
Oh, yeah.
I saw it that day. I saw a lot of...
It's like a lot of customer service.
And I
well.
saw inmates...
Oh, yeah.
With the worst attitude ever. Remember I had to do blood pressure on one guy. I felt like we were this close to firing me and him.
Yeah, no,
even though he was cuffed.
Restrained, yeah.
I was like, bro, shut up. You know what I mean? Let me do my job. But anyways, so the first week, anything that you remember from that first week of your residency that you were like, holy crap, I need a beer or I need a glass of wine?
Since I started with peds, I think it was fine, but it was just like the babies. I was like, oh my God, I just don't want to drop the baby because you're always like, oh, it's always a fear. I think more towards the other rotations, that's when it was a little bit harder. And I was like, okay, like delivering. You got
to deliver?
Yes, I did. And I thought I was going to like it, and I didn't like it.
No?
No, I didn't like delivering.
So you walk in, you're like, damn it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Don't drop the baby. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is like after they deliver, they usually lacerate and you have to suture. And that was like the worst fear because they bleed a lot. There's a lot of bleeding involved. So it was like, okay, don't let them overbleed too much and try to work hard, but then also doing a good job.
You had any blood like splatter in your face? Like,
oh my God, no, but the amniotic fluid, like when you rupture the bag, it did go into my, like I had a mask, but it got into my clothes and I was like, no.
You're like,
yeah, pretty much. Clean her and do your job. You can't let the patient, there, like you have to suture her. Okay.
So how long was your residency?
It was 3 years.
Damn, 3 years. So pretty much they want you to get really, really good experience. How was your second year?
Oh, the second year even got worse because the first year you were kind of handheld, like, oh, he's your senior, and you got to back up. The second year was like, oh, no, wake up, you're the senior. Now you're like all with the younger residents.
The roles turn around. You get to mentor others.
Yeah, and then
so you had to transition to that part.
Yes.
So but were you still hands-on though, or no?
Oh, yeah. We were all hands-on, yeah. Like, you have to be the leader and have to step up. And you still have to carry your own patients, but you also have the responsibility of shadowing the other residents.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned that your senior was really, really helpful, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he was your senior through the whole year, or
no,
you had differently?
Different. Then he graduated.
Oh.
So it was that first year in certain rotations, but he graduated, and then we became second years, and then it kind of rolls around.
Did you ever had somebody that you're like, I don't want to be like that. I want to be better. Not to put any other dark side on blast, but like I had my cousin here the other day, and she said something that has struck with me. Like, you know, she became a police officer, and she had different FTO officers, like field training officers. And she told me something. She said, I learned something new with each individual, and I learned what kind of cop I wanted to be. And I know with certain individuals that I did trainings, I didn't want to be the cop. So I kind of figured who I wanted to be as a cop. Did you ever felt something like that as you were going through that?
No, I think the residents were all good, and the attending. I think the one thing, you know, we're all human, and people think like physicians are high and above all, and then I don't think like that. We're just like any human being. We make errors. Obviously, you try to go into your job and try the best, but at the end of the day, we're humans. So I think that's one thing that I don't like to put it, like people to be like, oh, like glorifying. I'm like, no, I'm just like any individual. I'm trying my best. I'm learning. Sure, there's some things that you can miss. But it's just part of being a human.
So you do your fast forward. You finish your 3 years. You study. You take the test. Now, did you pass it the first time, or you had to take it again?
I did.
Nice.
And, you know, I was going through like a challenging time because I had like a really bad breakup. And it was with, my ex was also a physician, and we were doing long distance. And, you know, it was like a hard time because I was transitioning out to become an attending pretty much. And he still had another year in his residency. So one of my supervisor was like, maybe you shouldn't take the test because you just had like this bad breakup, and then what if you failed? And I would be like, no, I need to be consistent. Like, you know, life isn't easy, and that shouldn't derail me from finishing my career. So I'm going to take this test. And she's like, no, but what if you failed? And I was like, well, there's always a second chance. So I ended up taking it, and I passed it, thankfully.
Do you have to pay to take the test or no?
Oh my God, yes, we have to pay for a test.
Really?
I think the residency gives you like a supplemental financial assistance, but you have to pay first, and then they'll reimburse you. But it's expensive.
So then they did like a burial ceremony for you guys?
They did. It was really nice. It was in Monterey, so it was really
How
nice.
was your parents' reaction when they saw their daughter walking and getting her diploma for being a doctor?
They were really happy. I feel like they were in disbelief, like it was a dream.
Yeah.
They were like, oh my gosh, she made it. I'm like, she's here. We made it too, because they were like, whoa, like she actually finished her career. And, you know, we probably thought, and I think in their heads probably crossed their mind like she was never going to make it. And then seeing me there, they were so happy.
Well, okay, Lizzie, what'd you tell him once you got down that podium and you know, after the ceremony, you go meet with them? Like, what was your approach towards them?
I can't remember, honestly, because we were so, like, just emotional. And then we were just trying to have fun because we get overworked so much. And then so we were just trying to have fun. But I think like the next day I was like, oh, thank you so much for everything. And this is all for you guys as well. Yeah, so they were really happy. And that day my dad was dancing and my mom. Nice. So it was really nice with the family and like all of our classmates.
Nice.
Yeah, we just wanted to have fun, honestly.
Just enjoy it. Yeah. So obviously, you share your journey, Guadalajara, Reno, to your residency. Obviously, you face some adversity, you know, financially. You know, you were living off of student loans, you know. But you were learning, you were growing, and you never gave up. That was the biggest point, that you never gave up. Even as you were getting to that point, before you got to that point, before you went to UC Riverside, right? Did I say it right?
Cal State San Bernardino.
Cal State San Bernardino, sorry. Yeah. Before you went to Cal State San Bernardino, you still had some doubts. But you always had a mentor, somebody that to give you that extra push, and I feel that's really, really unique. And I'm happy that you had those mentors. And again, I'm gonna give shout out to Mrs. Franco. I'm sure she's gonna see this. That she was there for you and she gave you that final push that you needed, because that goes a long way, and we need that. We need that, especially in nosotros, our generation. That, you know, a lot of people doubt us. A lot of people look, you know, they
look down upon us.
They look down upon us, and having somebody that believes in you goes a long way.
I know.
And I'm
it
happy.
Really does.
I'm happy that you accomplished a lot and you're where you want to be. So, not to tone it down, you're done, right?
I'm done.
When do you started actually working? Like, okay.
When I met you guys, right? When I met
Oh,
you
really?
last year, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It was
So
like
you
a
were
couple
doing.
weeks
Oh,
before I
okay.
was
So you
gonna
were still
start.
doing your residency during that time.
Yes, I was at the end, and then
You
I
didn't
was
invite
gonna
us to the
graduate.
party, girl.
It was only like 4 tickets, so
That's okay. Yeah. Oh, Sasuke. Yeah, I do remember. I do
yeah.
remember. Yeah.
You
No,
guys
yeah.
said, "Oh, once you graduate and get a job, come back."
Yeah.
And then I never came back until now.
Yeah. Well, I beat you, girls.
I know, Christina.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, because you did share how I was working during COVID.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
COVID was really hard. Yeah.
Okay. I know I was going to totally down, but I really want to hear that part. I'm glad that I brought it up.
Yeah.
COVID was a really hard time for everybody,
Yeah,
right?
it was.
Everybody lost a loved one. They couldn't see them in person because of this deadly virus. You were doing your residency. How hard was it for you during
Yeah.
that time? What is it that you saw that, man, this sucks?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, I shared everything. We got very emotional during that time
Yes.
too.
Yes.
It was really hard. We started our residency during COVID, and it was horrible. Like we still had the curfew, so we didn't even socialize like as good for our class, and we were working so many hours, and then just seeing. I remember my senior was like going to pronounce dead people like all the time, and she would leave me, and I would be like, why is she leaving me alone? Like I was struggling to learn how to do everything, and then she would come and she would just like be so upset, and I didn't understand it until then I got into her shoes, and we were going to codes, and it was really bad. We couldn't even get there at times like really fast because we also had to gown up, and there was always someone already starting the compressions, but they ended up dying all alone. Like no family could go in because of COVID, and then you have to call them over the phone. It was just heartbreaking.
How was it your first time when you had to call somebody, tell them, hey, you know what, they died because of COVID?
Well, I didn't get to experience that. My
okay.
senior experienced that, and it was really hard for me to watch her do it because she would have like almost like a mental breakdown.
Oh, no.
But as a physician, you really can't, have that emotional. You have to disconnect and kind of be numb, because the work keeps working. You have other patients that you don't want them to die.
How did that affect you and your senior mentally?
My senior got affected really bad. I didn't experience it as much. Towards at the end, I feel like I experienced it more. And I did have one patient die. We had to do the chest compressions and everything. And I ended up venting out to my mom. And she's like, maybe you're not cut down for like the medical field because you shouldn't be getting that emotional. And I would be like, well, it's during COVID, like I think it's that emotion of not having anyone around, and then seeing this poor individual die and not having family members.
Was that your first time experiencing
Yes,
somebody die?
yeah,
Oh,
that
okay.
was the first time, but it was with my senior, and my senior called. She couldn't reach the family actually,
That sucks.
because I think that individual was like an immigrant, so we couldn't find like their family members.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so.
Damn.
But it wasn't on me, like it was on my senior to do the work.
Right.
Yeah, but I feel like the hardest time was experiencing the code for the first time myself, and
When you say
running
code,
it.
can you explain that to
Oh
us?
yeah,
Like,
code is like when a patient stops breathing or something happens and the heart stops and you have to resuscitate them, and that's when the chest compressions, and like feeling, you can feel like the last little heartbeat and then it just stops. And just recoiling, like you said, it recoils and you feel it. And you, obviously, when the heart isn't pumping, it's like the body gets colder and the eyes just...
it gets colder right away?
No, not right away, but it takes time. But you can feel right away, like the heart is not there, like the beating.
Oh,
so, yeah, that was a little traumatic. And you sometimes have to call it, like you do so many rounds and you have to say this patient has passed away. And, that one lasted a while. Like, I think I ran it for 30 minutes. We were so tired. But I was
just
like...
doing compressions.
Yeah, and it was almost like, I think when the monitor, we could almost see like the heart rate was wanting to come up, but we couldn't get him to have like a heartbeat like that would last. So it was just like we just had to call it.
What's the longest doctors work on them? Or is it just preference or feel, or what is it about?
Like, what do you mean? Like the code or?
Yeah, like when you're working. Like you mentioned right now, you're working for 30 minutes, but and then you
Oh,
saw the little thing go up, but then you're like, oh shit.
no, yeah, it depends. Like, there's some people who are really sick. It depends case by case.
Oh, okay.
Like if the possibility of life is very minimal, and then we try our best and we cannot resuscitate them, then maybe it depends. It could be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, because then some bodies are just like, you can tell right away when they're not responding.
Damn.
Yeah. So it depends.
Other than that, now moving forward, have you ever experienced something like that? Like you're just like, damn.
Right now, no, not anymore, because I'm doing clinic,
Oh,
and
okay.
sometimes I work at the hospital, but very rarely, and I haven't gotten to see that anymore. But clinic is very different than in the hospital.
Clinics when you go to your appointment, you're seeing a doctor, like, hey, I have a lung issue or whatever. You
Yeah.
know. Oh, okay.
It's more like stable.
So you're like, you get to breathe.
A little bit, yeah, because then there's
I mean, you're still on the
couple
go.
cases-
Yeah,
Yeah, and then a heart attack or something can happen at any time, so you kind of have to be aware. But it's not the same. Like usually when you go outpatient, you're pretty stable. You just need labs or you need to go to a specialist.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I remember COVID. It was crazy. I was scared. I think I ended up getting my first and second COVID shot because, I'm a cancer survivor. So I was like, I don't know how strong my immune system is,
Yeah, no, I think everybody was fighting for cappers, like in the hospital, like the little cap that secures you, because we were like, we don't want to get COVID, but we
Yeah.
have to use our N95s, and yeah,
You guys
it
were
was
like suited and booted, huh?
yeah,
Like,
we had to when we're going to the rooms, and then also just outside with the mask. So I feel like we didn't interact with a lot of people during that time.
wow. Yeah, man. I could imagine how hard was that for you, dude. Like, you're resting. So, yeah, you graduate. You're working full time. You're not doing ER no more or anything. You're in clinics.
In clinics, and sometimes I go to the hospital, like as a hospitalist, but very infrequently. I do more clinic.
Okay, what's the difference between Natividad and Memoria? I know Natividad obviously has a trauma center, but like, what
Yeah.
led you to choose Natividad over Memorial Hospital? Is it because there's more immigrant?
Natividad, because that's the only place they have residents.
Oh,
In
okay.
Salinas Valley, they don't have a residency. So that's how I got into residency in Natividad. And yeah, it has a different population. It's a FQHC, like it's a county, and the other one's like a private sector. So it's a little bit different. But you still have similar patients, but in the county, you see a little bit more of health disparities because they don't have a lot of, some people don't have insurance or some people do, but through the county. So you see, it's a little bit different.
Right. Do you ever see yourself going to another hospital, or do you see yourself staying there for a while?
Oh, at Salinas Valley. Like I think what life has taught me is like you can never know what's gonna happen in the future. So I'm just here to learn and see where life takes me. If it's to stay here, then I'm more than welcome and happy to stay there. But if life takes me somewhere else, then I'm gonna go wherever I gotta go. Maybe Guadalajara. I love Guadalajara. I would love to just spend more time there. Yeah.
Oh man! All right, let's tone it down. So, based on your journey, is there anything that you reflect during your journey that you feel most proud of?
I think most proud of, I think, is just trying to remain as humble as I can, and trying to give back to my community. I think that's a big accomplishment. Like I feel like sometimes I don't act like how people would think I would act because I'm a doctor. They would think like, oh, you should be more like this, more like that. But I'm just me. I always tell them like, I'm just me. That's my job. But aside of that, like I am still Natali. I'm that girl that was raised in Salinas. I can't be acting the same way as I'm in the clinic outside. Like I'm still an individual. So I like to keep those things like separate. And yeah, some people, they don't understand that, I think, at times.
Right. And that's what I was gonna ask. I was like, how do you decompress? But I mean, the clinic too. You did mention that you do go to the hospital sometimes, but not as heavy duty like you were. So I guess you decompress like any other normal individual. You get home, relax. You still live with your parents, or you got your own place?
I got my own place with my sister.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, like decompressing is like exercising, going out with friends, and just talking to some people as well. And then there's some doctors that also have like psychologists or someone they can talk to because it's really helpful.
What keeps you going on hard days as a physician?
On hard days, I think just remembering why I ended up choosing the medical field. I think now I'm noticing that it's more preventative. It really is, because there's some things that you can miss, but then there's things I've learned, like, you can try your best and talk to individuals and be like, oh, this is for preventative purposes, but everybody has their own autonomy. They can choose to do whatever they want to do, and sometimes it's not the best option, but you have to learn to let them go. Because there's some times where I tell patients, like, hey, this could happen if, you don't do this, but it's their own decision. And you know that this path can lead to all these complications, but then at the end of the day, you have to respect their wishes.
Right. What message will you give to the young people facing hardships because dreaming of a bigger future?
Okay, so I think one thing I could tell someone who wants to go into this career is to, if you're really passionate about it, it's not about the money. It's really if you're really passionate about helping people, because it's a long road, it's expensive, and at the end of the day, if you're gonna be working in this field, you really have to have the passion, because this is gonna be a daily thing. So it's just never give up. Talk to your mentors. It's okay to fail, because through that process, you learn to grow. You learn different experiences who make you who you are, and value your career and just your family more as well.
What's next for you? Oh, well, actually, you already touched that goal. I was going to ask you what's next for you, what's your goals, and what do you hope to achieve? But obviously, you mentioned earlier that whatever life has in store for you. So
Yeah.
you answered that already.
Yeah.
How do you define success today compared to when you were first starting?
Success. I feel like, honestly, just trying my best to live like a healthy life, and then also a happy life, and a work-life balance, because it's not always about work, and it's just trying to enjoy my life. I think in the beginning it was like focusing on getting here, and it was always work, 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 and then now I'm like trying to figure out, like, how do I get that balance of, like, not overworking myself a lot, but then also enjoying more time. Yeah.
I have one more question. I should ask this earlier. Did you ever felt like a minority
Oh, yeah,
in
of
your
course.
field? Yeah.
Yes, not only as like being a woman, but then also because I'm Hispanic and I'm bilingual, and it's really rare. Like, I don't know if you can go back, if you look back at the hospital in Natividad, most of the doctors were always Caucasian and mostly male. And then now they're incorporating more multicultural. There's different type of people with different languages, not only Spanish, English, but like Indian or, like Japanese or Korean. And I think they were not used to that. But in this community is usually a lot of migrant workers.
Yeah.
So Spanish is the desired language, but there's more of a cultural pot now, like in the actual hospital. Before it was used to be more males and Caucasian, and now it's like a little bit of mix. So I think our community is starting to notice that change as well.
Nice. Nice. I know I should have asked that question earlier.
Yeah, and then even
So
like
we know ahorita, yeah.
even like a lot of like my colleagues who are females, when we would go to the actual rooms, most of the patients would be like, "Oh, ¿por dónde está el doctor?" And they always think like, "Oh, you're just a medical assistant, you're a nurse. Like, where's the male doctor?"
Like Dr. Silva right here.
Yeah. Es aquí. Oh, bueno, pues si quiere me voy. But yeah, you get a lot of that still.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like who are you?
Really?
What are you like? Yeah,
Oh my
I still get like some of that. Like they think I'm a medical assistant, or they're like, "Where's the doctor?"
Soy
Yeah,
la
I'm
doctora.
like, yeah, I am.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Natalie, well, so you go by Dr. Silva?
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
Silva.
Okay, but okay, Dr. Silva, but I'm gonna say Natalie.
Yes, Natalie. Natalie sounds good.
You know what? I want to thank you for taking the time of your day to be here and share your journey. Like I said, I felt like when I first met you, there were more stuff that I wanted to go more in detail. I know you shared some of the similar stuff with the other podcasts with the girls, but I wanted to dive in more in detail on it, and I appreciate you for accepting the invitation and being here. And I know you're on call
Yeah, I am on
You know,
call.
you're on call. Luckily, you know, you didn't get no call yet.
Yeah, I know. No call yet. I
Yeah,
hope
so
not.
I want to cut it short because I don't want to take more time of your day. But I want to thank you for being
Oh,
here,
thank you.
sharing your journey, sharing the adversity, the struggle, the overcome, and far and foremost, never give up. You know, never give up, guys. Chase your dreams, even when you're at your lowest and you're like, man, I don't know if this is for me. I've been in that situation many a times, and I always have the right people around me to always slap me around and for me to wake up and like, you know what, I gotta keep
Yeah.
pounding the pavement. So my respects to you. You
Oh,
know,
thank
te
you.
admiro. I'm
Thank you.
happy to know that we have a Hispanic doctora en actividad. Anything else you want to say to our audience? Words of wisdom? Anything you feel like you want to say? You know, right now the platform is all yours.
Oh, thank you so much. So I just want to tell like all the, kids that are out there that are still like aspiring to do something else. Just follow your dreams. Make sure to follow something that you're going to be happy and passionate about. Again, it's not all about the money. Like obviously you need to live and have some income, but at the end of the day, you need to have like happiness in your life. So it's whatever you can, if you ever you want something, you just need to work hard for it. Even if you have struggles, you can make it work. And, just because your parents don't have like the income or the possibilities, you should always ask for help. Because if you ask, there will be someone hearing you out and like pushing you.
Nice.
So I wish everyone the best.
Thank you. Thank you. With that being said, that's the end of this episode. Stay tuned for the other one. We're out.
Thank you so much.